All right, moving on. Let's do the next one. So this is one of the ones that I had put into our document here. Social media changes. So I think that, and I'm just going to make a strong claim here. I think Facebook's time is limited in its current capacity. When you look at all the metrics, like for 2023, it's probably going to be fine, overall to spend some money because you do have, key demographics, but those demographics are shrinking, right? There's a lot more. I mean, you think about when Facebook first came on the scene. I mean, how many platforms were there total versus now, right? You didn't have TikTok, you didn't have Twitter, you didn't have, pick one.
It was
right?
like MySpace
Instagram.
and Tumblr and Facebook.
Yeah, MySpace and Facebook, and that was pretty much it for the most part. And Tumblr, yeah, for like forum-based things, but then you also now have Reddit, which is exploding and always has been. Quora, which is now a big FAQ type. I mean, it's pretty much its whole base is FAQ for the most part, and news-related things. So, I do have some statistics, right? Because I can't memorize those like Eric. I was looking at the rates for how many teens have a Facebook account. It's 32%, right? That's compared to 30% on TikTok. If you look at the age difference of those two platforms, that's crazy, right? You were talking about, back to our other video, how fast ChatGPT has grown in a short period of time. Like, how long did it take to hit 1 million users? Like a couple of days or something?
5 days.
5 days,
yeah.
Right? Which is insane, right? But if you look at it, how old is TikTok versus Facebook? I mean, 32 and 30%, right? Now,
closer than I thought.
Yeah, it's quick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even that old of a platform.
Right.
Definitely not even remotely as old as Facebook. So breaking down the share of users, this is according to Statistica, 25 to 34 age group makes up 23%. 35 to 44 is 18%. And then you look at 45 to 65, it's 36% and growing quickly. So one of my predictions is that people are going to start spreading their ad revenue out a bit more. Facebook used to be such a dominant thing. It was like, and then they bought Instagram, so now you have access to 2 separate platforms in one. And Instagram's still a monster, right? Instagram is showing good rates, but it's also being influenced by TikTok and other platforms like that. So I would say that as a bold statement, I don't think Facebook is dying. I think it's aging. And what happens after you age, you die, right? I know, dark, right? But 2023, just because there's so many options available, I think that you're going to start seeing that go down. I mean, unless your audience is in that age group, right? And if you look at it from a platform, look at some of these other interfaces. I mean, Facebook doesn't really do well at a lot. If you look at the interface, it's not as slick, it's not as easy to use, it's a little bit clunky, and God knows if you're an advertiser, and some of you may be, try to use the ads interface, and it's not good. Yeah. It's very cluttered, there's a lot of stuff, the business management, how they've tried to cram business stuff in there now, and it just seems to be going a wrong direction. They've focused so much on that Meta platform to try to get you to be a cartoon on the internet or whatever, that they've really kind of stepped away from what had made them so popular, one of the juggernauts in the space. And through that, and they've lost some of their user base, which you can see in pretty much any stat, just Google anything. Is Facebook dying, Facebook user base declining, et cetera? I mean, this is kind of, the war pigs kind of are calling in, but it doesn't look good for them. And I've started, even in our advertising, to branch out into other avenues because you just don't get the same results that you do, despite even spending more. Right? Because the space is just so cluttered. So I don't want to take up the whole time to talk about that. I do want to cover one more thing, just to cover the point. I'd like to hear your feedback on that. So my prediction is the spreading out of media placements instead of the tried and true platforms. Some examples being, Rumble in addition to, not in place of YouTube, TikTok, Alignable, Reddit, Quora, Discord, Mastodon, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, and LinkedIn groups, because a lot of these are business related, right? And some businesses are recreational. I think there's plenty of opportunities on all these. What are your thoughts on that? Let's hear some feedback. Is Facebook dying?
I mean, yeah, I definitely agree with your stance on Facebook. I think, since they've changed the algorithms to where you pretty much have to pay and boost your post in order for even anyone in your closest network of people you interact with and are, friends with to even see your content. Since things went in that direction, I think it's become a lot less effective and useful in a lot of ways.
Let me ask you this, because like when you've been managing social media here for about 2 years. Now, what do you see the difference like when you first started doing it and doing the organic posts or the engagement, the reach to where it's now? Like, what's the biggest difference that you see in that?
Well, I definitely think
Is it pay to play completely, or?
It's a lot pay to play, and I think just in general stuff is more spread out too. Like engagement is more spread out. You're not seeing, and also less focus I think is put on one particular post having a bunch of likes or a bunch of comments. It's more across social media. It's more about individual pieces that are kind of quality, I guess. But in terms of Facebook, yeah, I see just like a decline in performance metrics overall, and definitely a big difference in a paid post or an advertisement on Facebook or Instagram versus organic content. It's like night and day.
Well, how many people? Let's just go ahead, Jason.
What I was going to say, which is frightening, if people are leaving, right? I mean, you couple, the sort of pay to play and in a, like you said, aging platform.
Aging platform and aging demographic.
Well, yeah, right. Also, so I mean, if you have a niche target audience, that's one thing, but it's a whole other thing when you were talking about the mass, isn't there per se. You start to lose that, and that's kind of a frightening proposition when you're trying to advertise on that platform.
Definitely.
I do think, though, for Facebook and some other platforms, and not just for the older demographic, but I think it's effective there too. But more focus on like community and recommendations and groups, and asking your network for a good tailor near me or whatever, and being in those groups, and then from the business point of view, engaging in those communities and not necessarily having to do the paid ads, but posting in those areas for offering recommendations for your services and that kind of thing. I think especially with the like Gen Z and younger people, and just more like user-generated content, all this stuff, and how social media is changing. People that are purchasing are looking to, like, whether it's influencers or other people they know, or just whoever they trust, to help guide them and make recommendations to them, rather than looking at what is clearly paid content. That's almost has no value now to a lot of people. Because
the paid content they skip right over. Go ahead, Eric.
Well, paid, and then also Facebook has become kind of this like monolith and symbol of like Big Brother, right or wrong. And as I said, I think people want
smacking people around.
Yeah. So with last week with ChatGPT, I said I think a lot of people want options, which is why they go to Google. And so I think, if you diversify what you're doing, and it's user generated and it's coming from real people, even though a lot of times those people are being paid, but it still comes across as a real person.
Well, I think just from a digestion standpoint in terms of like content, right? Like, I just think on that they're so far behind the times that's one of the things that's making people flock away from it. I know people that are older that pretty much get all their news and stuff from Facebook, but like once you get past that demographic into a younger one, I would say younger than 55 to 45, underneath that, like nobody's really engaging. Like you'll see people, it's like, think of it like this. Like for younger people, it's like, oh, that's a person I went to high school with and I just still want to stay in touch with them. But like as they all move off of that, you're going to go with them, right? As you start to see your little group shrink, you're like, well, where are these people going, right? And then you're going to start to experiment with the other platforms. And just back to what I was saying about the digestion standpoint, it's like if you ate a really big meal, right? it's harder to digest. Whereas like, which would be like your Facebook, your big video, your tons of content, long comment section, all that stuff, versus like Instagram or something that's much more precise, right? Or TikTok, you're just scrolling through videos, it's like media after media after media, like it's easier to navigate through.